Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host Muhammad Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Eduardo Alfredo Villalpando Heredia. Please join me to give a warm welcome to Eduardo. Eduardo, welcome.
Hi, how's it going? Thank you for having me. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Let me ask publicly in front of everyone, did I pronounce your name right?
You pronounce everything right but the last one. So it's Eduardo Alfredo Villalpando Heredia.
Heredia. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
that was like too fast. You don't pronounce the HE, you just pronounce like the E, like Heredia instead of HE.
Thank you for teaching me in front of a public. I appreciate that, and I apologize for the mistakes. So
I got you. I got you. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Eduardo. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to get started with your podcast, D1 only?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it was at the beginning of the pandemic, like during quarantine, it was like March, April. I was like, like this is something I really want to do. Like sports journalism, sports media is something that I'm really into, like since I was like a little kid. I wanna work in like the biggest networks and big things like that. But I had to learn how to become a good communicator before aspiring to all of that. So I decided to create the D1 Only podcast. I was just surrounded by my family. I think my mom really was pushing me really into doing it because she's like a huge supporter of everything I do. And yeah, gladly is gonna ride. We got a sponsor now, and we got more than 10,000 streams. We're available not only on one platform but in multiple platforms. So yeah, I think it's been a good ride so far.
Mhm. Wonderful, wonderful. So, what's the any specific challenges you got in when you started this one, or is it like you got on a smooth ride with this?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it has been smooth all the time. It's kind of hard. I mean, you as a podcast host, I can imagine you can relate. It's hard when you're trying to get someone on the show and you're like really focused on yo, I want to get like this guy on the show and everything, and they don't respond to you. And it's like damn, like I gotta sort something out quick, and especially because during the pandemic, like my bad, at the like during the quarantine period, like between March and August, I was posting episodes like every 2 days, every 3 days. So it was literally a challenge to find someone to interview, like even if it's not like the best player or something like that. Because at the beginning, the podcast is about collegiate athletics, like the importance of it. At the beginning, it was only about tennis players and everything. Now we're trying to expand more and do just every sport that was across collegiate athletics. So yeah, I think it's a good platform for kids in high school to check it out and basically to get more educated about the topic.
Mhm. So you are as a young man, Eduardo. I'm sure you learned so much while you're doing this. So what are the top three missteps to avoid when you get into a new venture like this podcast?
I mean, to be honest, it's really about don't losing yourself, because there's times when you can be like interviewing all these like great guys that you have access to, but at the end of the day, if you have like 5 streams or 4 streams per episode, that's not really gonna help a lot. Of course, it's gonna help you in terms of communicating, developing skills, and everything like that. But in terms of growing the podcast and everything, I wouldn't say it's gonna help that much. I think as a podcast host, everyone has to like whoever is doing it, they have to be like consistent. At the end of the day, you know how they say if consistency was a place, it wouldn't be too crowded. Yeah, that's facts. I mean, you gotta be consistent. You gotta stay solid, and you gotta be able to give good content to your fans and to your listeners. Because if you don't, otherwise they're gonna be going somewhere else. So I think that's really important. And yeah, basically just stay true to yourself, straight to the grind. It's tough at times. There's times when you don't have like that much motivation to record episodes. There's just not like just to that before the for everyone who don't know, like when you are the podcast host, before the episodes you gotta do some research and everything like that, and it's like really easy, especially as when I started, which was when quarantine was like pretty bad at the beginning, and it's like it's just tough, to have the motivation to do all these things. But at the end of the day, if you really love this and it's your true passion, then you'll do it.
Yeah, passion you do it. Passion is the key part.
Fact.
So, and when you put all the hard work, bring the guests, do the post production and everything, and then not many enough downloads or views to your podcast, that give you like not a good inspiration for the next episode. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And
yeah,
yeah,
how you keep going? Here's my question: how you keep going in that moment? Because
yeah, nah, that is actually a really good question. I mean, I don't know. It's happened to me a couple of times where I get to interview someone. I don't know, like when the podcast was first starting. This happened mostly when it was first starting. That I don't know. I will get someone like a famous person on the podcast, a famous athlete or something like that, and I will get like 8 listeners or 10 listeners per episode. And I was like, what? Wait, what? But then I started realizing, I started sharing more. They like something I really ask. I'm not afraid or ashamed of asking my guests at the end of every episode, like, yo, you think you could share this on social media or something like that? Because social media is key. At the end of the day, social media is what dictates everything we do,
Mhm.
and that's a good way to develop connections. And as I always say in my podcast, it's not necessarily about what you know, but who you know. So being able to develop all these relationships through social media and gaining more and more listeners per episode or per season or and everything like that, it's like key. So just don't lose that. Just because you don't have a good review on one of your episodes doesn't mean all of your episodes are gonna be bad. So it's just a matter of staying true to yourself and just keep grinding.
Mhm. So you created a success. I've gone through all the initial period. You kind of smooth. You have a sponsor. The sponsor having a sponsor. If you're watching this and you don't know what the sponsor mean, having a sponsor on a podcast is a good thing. That means someone else, third party, validated, and they're willing to pay for your work. Basically, that's what that is. So, what are your top three success secrets? What are the that makes you to get where are you right now?
I mean, first of all, I want to say just my family, because my family, like my mom and my dad, they've been supporting me since day one. They were really pushing me to get this podcast going. At first, I don't know. I think I was shy. No, I wouldn't say shy, but I don't know. I just couldn't be asked to do it. But then after like once I got into a rhythm, I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do this. So basically, be consistent. I'm really thankful for my family for everything they've done for me. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, just stay, as I previously mentioned, like it's kind of repetitive, but at the end of the day, like that's secret to success. Just like stay true to yourself, stay solid, and try to develop as much content as you can, because at the end of the day, the more content you have out there, the more people are going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you may have something. If you don't record a lot of episodes, people may not be intrigued about that episode. But the more episodes you release and the more people see it, they're gonna be like, okay, I may not like this one, but like, okay, let me take a look at this other one. Oh, actually, I think this one is very interesting. I'm gonna give it a listen. And
Mhm.
just things like that, putting your name out there, I think it's really important. So yeah, I think those are my advices for the people who are trying to start a podcast. I think they really gotta be consistent and just like give good material to the listeners.
Mhm. And Eduardo, many young people like you are not lucky to have a support from their family, especially parents. They say, no, no, you don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. They kind of not support you what you do. They actually want you to move to a different direction. And these millennial people like you don't really listen to that way. They kind of they don't have a strong family support. So my question to you is how to earn a family support if your family is not very supportive. Any skill you want to share?
I mean, that's tricky. That's actually crazy that you asked me that, because I was having a conversation with someone the other day about that, and it's like it's just like unfortunate to see, that a lot of their parents are not really supporting their kids. Like there's a difference between you being a parent and you telling your kid like, yo, I think this is a way you can move forward.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between telling them that, which is an advice, and then forcing them to do something else. I
Mhm.
think at the end of the day, the the children, the kids, or just like the sons in general, I think they have to be free enough to take their own decisions. Of course, the parents and their advices and everything, like it's huge. But my advice will not necessarily be for the kids, but will be for the parents. Just let your kids do. I mean, I wouldn't say just let them do whatever they want, but just if they're gonna make mistakes, we're gonna make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but at the end of the day, is not getting too down on yourself after making those mistakes, and still having the support from your parents
Mhm.
to keep going forward, even though you're failing or you're not doing that good in, I don't know, in a certain skill set or in a certain job that your parents may not be wanting you to go. If you know what I mean.
Mhm. Okay, okay, wonderful. Let's talk about your podcast. Thank you. I appreciate it very much because that may help some parents. The people are listening and watching. They say, "Oh, wow," they may be less hard on their kids, and after listening to that, so
Yeah, for sure. No, and I think it's a reality. I mean, I think that is something that happens like pretty often in the world. I mean, we see it all the time in movies and stuff like that. And there's a reason why in movies, like at the end, the parents realize, like, yo, like I actually gotta support my kid
yeah,
instead of pushing down on him. But yeah, I think.
yeah, yeah, wonderful. So let's talk about your podcast. So tell us more about your podcast and how people can outreach to you.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the podcast is just about the importance of collegiate athletics. I'm an NCAA Division One student athlete at Niagara University. I'm a sport management major, but I've always been involved in social media, and just sports media and things like that. I'm really big advocate of sports journalism, and basically the one only podcast. It first started, as I previously mentioned, as a tennis podcast of collegiate athletics, but now I having a sponsor and everything. I was asked. I wouldn't necessarily mention. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was asked to, but I came up with the idea to expand to every sport across collegiate athletics, and that actually leads to what I mentioned earlier about having more content. Because
Yeah,
when the podcast was only about tennis, some people would listen to it from other sports, but mostly will be tennis players. Now that I'm doing like baseball, now I'm doing basketball, now I'm doing soccer, now I'm doing all these little different things, and it has a higher reach because there's like it's like the umbrella went from like covering only this to covering every sport. So I think that's helped me a lot. The D1 Only podcast presented by Tab is on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and as well as on Instagram and Twitter. The handle for the Instagram account is there, D1 Only Pod, and the Twitter account is D1 Only Podcast.
yeah. So Instagram follow Eduardo D1 only pod. That's at D1 only pod. And follow him, find him, and give a love to him, his podcast. So thank you. So Eduardo, we are about to wrap up. What would you say as a final word?
No, nothing, man. I really appreciate what you're doing, like, having me here on the show. What you're doing with New Success Secrets is like great, and hopefully I'm able to inspire some of the kids listening to this to want to the pod to if they want to create a podcast, do that, or whatever they're trying to do, whatever they have their mind on. I think really like nowadays people are too scared of failing, and especially like being so young. I think like in your 20s, I think that's the opportunity. Like that's when you can fail and it's still alright.
Yeah, yeah,
So you also gotta get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's something in order to have success in every business. You have to be able to adapt. Adaptability is one of the most underrated skills anyone can have. So yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Please allow yourself to fail. Basically, that give yourself a permission to fail, because I'm telling you, the path to success leads to go through the failure road. That the road has so many bumps and turns and twists and turns. It's not a straight path.
My guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So success is a journey. So don't focus on jump over to there's no way you can jump. Otherwise, everybody else will be successful too.
Yeah.
So
And also don't compare yourself, like for everyone listening, like don't compare yourself to anyone. Like if you have a, like, I don't know, a career path, a dream career path, and someone else has the same career path and they're ahead of you, like don't compare yourself to them. At the end of the day, it's a different journey for everyone. Just enjoy the process, and you're never arriving, always becoming.
yeah, definitely don't compare. That's a great wisdom. Compare your incremental progress you are making yourself from the compare your today's with the yesterday, not with someone else yesterday and today, because their circumstance, their level of effort, their level of failure, the level of sport, everything is different. So you want to compare yourself with how much progress you are making. Eduardo, thank you so much. I really appreciate showing up on Growth Hacking Secrets show on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.